Spider-Man, Spider-Man does whatever.
This is my gift. My curse. Who am I? I'm Spider-Man.
2002 saw the release of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. And it was awesome! Spider-Man went and then just swung around New York and grew claw things out of his hands and then it went and then a green dude showed up and Spider-Man went pump and then the green guy went and that was the end of the Spider Guy. Until he came back 15 years later in the reboot called Spider-Man Homecoming, and it was good. Spider-Man went around New York and went with his webs, and then a green dude showed up, and Spider-Man went patoosh, but then the green dude went,
I'll kill you and everybody you love. I'll kill you dead.
Then he went, and that was truly the ending for real. So you would agree these two movies are practically the same, right? I mean, they're both about Peter Parker learning how to use his newly found abilities while also juggling school, work, a love life, a secret identity, and stopping a new flying green villain that happens to be the father of one of his friends while having an overarching theme of responsibility? Well, if you believe they're the same,
You're not just wrong, you're stupid. Now wait just a minute. And you're ugly, just like your mum. Did you just call my mother ugly? Shut up!
I believe the differences can be seen in three core parts: the censorship, theme, and writing. I'm gonna put that as a sound effect. I believe both these movies display the time that they were made pretty clearly. While they are both under the PG-13 rating, I believe it's for different reasons. While 2002 had extremely gory scenes like this.
Am I?
Plus having all these.
Oh.
And while Homecoming doesn't seem to share the OG's violence considering they weren't even allowed to have Spider-Man punch anybody in a PG-13 movie, I think it subtly compensates with more... well, I don't want to say more mature writing, because, well, it's the MCU we're talking about here. But, yeah, the clear differences are... and...
What are you doing here? There's a dance.
I'm looking at porn.
It really does seem like these two movies have really different... These two movies, I would say, are fairly well written, but where they differ is when it comes to inspiration. See, Spider-Man Homecoming is obviously a part of the very successful Marvel Cinematic Universe, meaning it has to conform to its already ongoing story. While, on the other hand, Spider-Man only took from the comic book where he came from. Not only that, but it reimagined a lot of the material and turned it into something better than it originally was by combining elements from the classic 60s Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man run and the fan favorite Ultimate Spider-Man run. Compare that to Spider-Man Homecoming's comic book inspiration,
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Not to say it's nothing like the comic books, I mean there's a bunch of homages to the comics throughout the movie. It's just that the story is mostly original to the MCU. And that brings me to the point I believe most people think about when they think of this movie. That Spider-Man isn't really Spider-Man. He's Iron Man Jr. Now, I don't particularly agree with this, but I don't really disagree either. Tony Stark influences a lot of the plot of this whole movie. Not only did he create the villain, he made Peter's suit, which a lot of the plot revolves around. Like how Peter has to hack it in order to basically continue the plot and not get in trouble with Tony. Which inevitably he does and has his suit taken away, which is also a huge plot point. But having Peter tied down to the restraints from Tony, it delays a lot of the character development that he would only get much later on. Like imagine if Peter got beat up by a bad guy instead of Iron Man telling him he messed up. Peter can clearly see and feel the consequences of his mistake and develops as a character from learning from them. That would never happen. Anyways, when viewing anything Spider-Man related, responsibility is most likely to be the underlying theme of the whole story. Makes sense as that was a lesson he learned in the comics from his Uncle Ben that was further cemented by Peter's lack of responsibility that ended up getting Ben killed, resulting in the birth of Spider-Man. And I believe the 2002 Spider-Man depiction does this justice. Having Peter turn down Mary Jane at the end of the movie after seeing his Aunt May almost die earlier in the movie, even though he has been in love with her since forever, displays the theme practically perfectly. However, unlike 2002, Homecoming is not an origin story. Which normally wouldn't be a problem, two of the best portrayals of the character ever have nothing to do with his origin. But what Homecoming lacks is a sufficient narrative backbone about power and responsibility. Like look at the scene early in the movie where Peter's attempt to stop a bank robbery goes wrong as a stray laser destroys a deli across the street. This scene could have had heavy narrative importance and conveyed a theme of responsibility really well, but instead the movie decides to solve it immediately and give no consequences whatsoever. And then from there, the movie continues to just brush aside all the problems that Peter's duality would have caused. Like when his friend Ned finds out that he's Spider-Man and nothing comes from it. Or when he abandons his field trip and chases after some bad guys but ends up getting trapped in a warehouse all night, resulting in him missing the academic decathlon. Literally nothing comes from it, he just shows up and everyone's fine with it. Okay guys. What I'm basically trying to say is, the character development in No Way Home should have been in Homecoming. Good night!